adventure is the call to Camp Widjiwagan. The Ojibwe Indians interpret the word Widjiwagan as meaning comradeship or friendship. It was fitting for the founders to select such a word since its meaning has been the key word for campers and staff members ever since. The camp spirit is found on the many canoe trails that lead into the National Superior Forest of northern Minnesota and into the Quetico Provincial Park of Canada. It is truly America's last frontier for real wilderness camping, since canoe routes are the only means of entrance into this land filled with lakes, fish, with tall pines and wildlife. This is a roadless area, and even the airplane, with the exception of the Government Forestry Service Patrol, has been banned from operating in this frontier. The camp, owned and operated by the St. Paul YMCA, is located on the north arm of Burnside Lake, 285 miles north of St. Paul, or 16 miles northwest of Ely. It owns 76 acres of timber, and its location gives it an enviable position as a campsite, since it has access to thousands of acres and hundreds of lakes for canoe tripping, its chief program activity. Ever since the first year, 1929, thousands of people, young and old, men and women, boys and girls, have enjoyed its adventure, its call to the wild, and its character-building activities. As we see these boys participating in the regular camp program, let's keep in mind that girls and young adults equally enjoy the activities, and any person is eligible to register. The most important single factor in the successful operation of a summer camp is its leadership. Yes, more important than buildings and equipment. One of the purposes of the camp is to help boys to learn to live together as a Christian community, and the leadership is dedicated to developing such a community spirit in the camp. Cabin and trip counselors are carefully chosen college students and graduates who not only have experience in outdoor living, but who have special skills in leadership and group supervision as well. Many hours of preparation go into the planning of a season's program, and the director with his staff constantly work out the many details that occur in camp. Here you see one of the many staff meetings taking place with the cabin and trail counselors of the boys' staff. During the 2 weeks girl period, the girls' staff does the same. All are concerned with one thing, the welfare of the camper. The YMCA believes that camping periods afford unique opportunities for developing youth programs through intimate relationships in natural situations where democratic principles are put into operation in everyday living. The purpose in operating such a camp as this is to develop Christian character through a balanced program, to offer fun, the happiest possible experience for each camper, to aid social adjustment where attitudes and conduct make for better living, to teach health and safety for development of a clean, strong body, to help campers enjoy the out of doors and acquire skills in work and play, to appreciate our American heritage, and to assume a responsibility to our neighbors in need. The program is conceived as everything that happens in camp, the planned as well as the unplanned incidents that arise, and at Widjiwagan the overall program is twofold in nature. Program which takes place on the camp property itself, and the program which takes place out on the trail. Here we have seen boys use some of the in-camp facilities under the direction, the supervision, and the guidance of staff members. It is very important that camp life is not highly organized, hour by hour, minute by minute, bell by bell, but rather campers of the age that come to Widjiwagan should be relatively free from too much scheduled program pressures. The feeling of having to follow directions all the time or of having always to be in an organized group is avoided by providing plenty of time in which campers can use their leisure time at their own rate of speed and with whom they wish. The cabin group is to camp what the family group is to our society. It is the living group that becomes the most important program group. The cabin group carries on together those activities that are ordinarily carried on by the family group, Eating, sleeping, personal hygiene, and housekeeping duties are a part of the life of every cabin. In addition, the campers carry on much of their play life together. They go in pairs and in threes to the beach to swim. They compete against another cabin group. They develop a stunt or skit for entertainment around a campfire. Or they may go on a hike to pick blueberries, as you see these two cabin groups do a few miles from the camp. Cabin groupings are done largely upon the basis of age and interest, and frequently upon friendship, when several campers previously have known each other before coming to camp. 2 counselors live with each group of 10 boys, and they function as the program unit while they are in camp. For the trail program, the cabin counselor ratio becomes 1 to 5 for the older age campers and 1 to 4 for the younger campers. The dinner bell doesn't have to be rung very long or very loud to convince campers and staff that it is mealtime. That is one time when all agree on the same thing. In our lives, we know how important food is to our well-being, and from the camper's viewpoint, sometimes his entire camping experience is evaluated in terms of the food that was served. Plenty of delicious, appetizing, and well-balanced food is a pleasant memory of each camper who has been at Widjiwagan in recent years. There's no question about the fact that outdoor living increases appetite. Many times I'm sure that the cook insists everyone in the dining room has hollow legs. Camps in Minnesota are inspected by the Department of Health, and Camp Widjiwagan complies with the health and sanitation standards that are required for safe living. The tables are set in family style, the counselor and his group at each table. There's a friendly atmosphere, and that goes along with each meal. Plenty of singing, plenty of laughing and good fun, and most important, plenty of good food. Evening programs vary from time to time, hoping to reach all interests and to give all an opportunity to share in some way or another. Here are a group of staff members putting on the hilarious midget act, which campers insist occurs at least once each period. Please don't judge the intelligence of the entire staff by these representatives. The feeding of souls is just as important in camp living as is the feeding of bodies. Daily, the thoughts of all are directed in song and prayer to the God of all. The outdoor chapel on Chapel Point is symbolic of the real purpose of the camp, that is, to develop Christian personality and build a Christian society. The chapel service conducted by campers and counselors is held on Sunday mornings. Catholic campers may attend Mass in Ely. It is natural settings such as this that help bring meaning to the thoughts and words of Jesus. Along with the psalmist, campers can say, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." And as one leaves this great cathedral, what would be more fitting than the words, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. The thing uppermost in the minds of parents of children in camp is their health and safety. Experience has shown that the actual risk of accident or injury is probably much less in the summer camp than it is in the city. Summer weather, outdoor activities, stimulating experiences, and good food favor a summer of health and safety. Along with that, Widjiwagan takes every reasonable measure to prevent disease and accident. Every camper must secure a thorough physical examination before coming to camp. Upon his arrival, he is given a checkup by the registered nurse who is on duty 24 hours a day. Here you see a group of boys who are getting last-minute attention before leaving on a canoe trip. Each trip is checked by the nurse before it leaves and after it returns. Campers are kept under daily observation, and a physician is available on call. And if the case should ever warrant such attention, the camp has a working agreement with the hospital in Winton. Camping days are happy days. To the camper, Camp Widjiwagan means lots of adventure. To them, it is a place where he can make new and lasting friendships, enjoy the clean out of doors, engage in activities of interest, and learn the outdoor skills that will become an asset for him for adulthood. Here we have been seeing a demonstration of various ways of flipping a canoe when portaging is necessary to travel from one lake to another. It might look difficult to those who have never tried it, but the skill in being able to flip and portage a canoe is one of the highlights of the trail experience. Not all campers must carry a canoe, since there are also pack sacks to be carried. Each person shares the responsibility depending upon his or her ability to do so. Campers are taught to respect all of the equipment to ensure the best of service for themselves and for others to follow. As far as the canoes are concerned, the trail director would say, "When this canoe comes back, I want to be able to count all scratches on my one finger." In addition to the canoe and paddling demonstration that you're observing here, axemanship, cooking, portaging, and tent pitching are also taught to the campers before going on the trail. In many cases, a break-in canoe trip of 2 or 3 days is planned to help campers get the feel of the trail before they venture forth for a longer period. In any case, everyone is given an opportunity of developing these great outdoor skills. Another phase of instruction and training for outdoor education is the swimming and swamping test. Campers are encouraged to swim a prescribed distance in water over their heads to give them a sense of confidence for safety reasons. Campers who do need special help with their swimming are given individual instructions so that they may join their cabin group. Here we see one of the instructors administer the second part of the swimming test, which is called the swamping test. The purpose is again to give confidence in their ability to use good judgment in case of an emergency. Campers are taught never to swim to shore if their canoe should overturn. By practicing this phase of testing, they know that the canoe is the best raft they can have, for it will never sink under those circumstances, and therefore they should never leave their canoe. In 99 cases out of 100, campers need not put this knowledge to use, but the great value lies in the fact that they know what to do if the situation arises for them to act. Not only is this then sound philosophy for outdoor living, but for life in general. Now that these boys have fulfilled some of the basic requirements for the trail program, they are ready, with their counselor, to chart the trip which they have been anxiously awaiting. The length and distance of each canoe trip is determined by the group's ability. The younger boys take different kinds of trips than do the older boys. There are so many opportunities in this part of the country to chart the kind of trip fitting to all members of the group. The camp provides all of the group equipment, which includes such things as tents, canoes, paddles, axes, shovels, pack sacks, first aid kits, cook kits, and food. Each camper is responsible for his personal trip items, which include such things as clothing, bedding, fishing equipment, and toilet articles. For the older campers and for the longer trips, there is one counselor for 5 campers, usually traveling in 2 canoes. For shorter trips and with younger campers, 2 counselors give the supervision that is necessary to personalize the instruction. Then usually 7 campers with 2 counselors travel in canoes. The border lakes and their connecting waterways between Canada and the United States have a glorious and historical past, and its eternal natural beauty is beyond compare. Curtain Falls, Rebecca Falls, the painted rocks on Lac La Croix, and on Crooked Lake give evidence to the life of the Northland Indian who inhabited this territory not too long ago, and members of some tribes who still live there. This is truly the land of the voyageurs, the center of the fabulous fur trade of earlier days, rich in tradition. Grace Newt tells us that the North Country seems so young and is so old, many who paddle their canoes over Basswood Lake, portage at the Staircase, or pitch their tents at Curtain Falls, will be surprised to learn that these names and most of the others used in the boundary are centuries old, older by far than names like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Indiana, Missouri, and other places and regions and cities from which people come to canoe on northern Minnesota lakes. To provide practical experience in living in the open for youth, because we know that through the practice of the skills of camping and the knowledge of things that go with it, such as knowing how to use the resources of the open, is preparing them with basic skills for meeting the emergencies of life. Walt Whitman expressed it in these words: "Now I see the secret of the making of best persons. It is to grow in the open air and to eat and sleep with the earth." Sometimes portages must be cut from one lake to another, but all this adds to the adventure of outdoor living. In canoe tripping, it is a good practice to start the day early and to make camp early. This leaves the long summer evenings for fishing, hiking, some exploring, and gives enough time to adequately prepare a good campsite and cook a savory meal. The stories and songs around the evening campfire are always a wonderful way to bring the day to an end. Next time you hear the word decentralized camping, you will know what is meant. Here you see it in its purest form. Simply stated, it refers to that kind of camping that is done in small groups with an adult leader away from the main camp property, carrying on their own activity based upon their individual interests and needs, and using the natural resources about them. That puts greater responsibility upon each group member, since the success of one is the success of all, and any failure on the part of one becomes a concern of all. Each learns to contribute his special skill for the welfare of the group, and at the same time develop those qualities which are going to help him become a better person socially, morally, physically, and spiritually. Campers learn best by doing and grow best by living. And here we see some of the values of this small group living. And you can be assured that the girl campers are just as enthusiastic about it as are these boys. The girls' grouping is done on much of the same basis, but in addition to the women counselor, 2 men counselors accompany each group. This campsite could be any one of those found on Basswood Lake or on Sturgeon Lake, or the one near Louisa Falls on Agnes Lake, or the one at Chatterton Falls, where our groups find fishing to be so excellent, or on Cummings or Knife Lake or Big Sag. The opportunities of travel are virtually unlimited, and it becomes the eventual dream of many campers to return to Widjiwagan year after year, since they know that new and greater thrills always lay in store for them. There always seems to be territory that has not yet been traveled, and campers soon know that each year, with different people and perhaps with different counselors, experiences will be new and fresh. Groups come and go during the entire summer. While one cabin group is on the trail, another returns after an 18-day trip, which we see here. This trip was picked up at Nell's Lake, just a few miles from camp. There are 3 or 4 different starting points and different pickup places, all depending upon the type of country that the group wants to get into. Many trips leave and return from the camp's own canoe dock. These boys will be exchanging their tales around a campfire tonight when they present their log to the entire group. It is a great thrill to return to camp and be able to tell others about it. It is always the most unusual situation that brings on the biggest response. If you have ever been on a canoe trip, you know what I mean. The day before the campers go home, the period is climaxed with a gigantic lumberjack day, where every camper has the voluntary pleasure of demonstrating his prowess of all the skills he was able to develop during that period. He competes against himself and gains points for his proficiency. At the end of the day, the points are totaled and the winner is proclaimed Paul Bunyan. The cabin group with the most points becomes his champion loggers. In the afternoon, as you will see a little later, waterfront activities captivate their interest, which is followed by a huge banquet that evening. And then the closing campfire ceremony is the grand finale until another year. Yes, friends, unless all signs fail, the organized camp as we see it here is about to celebrate its coming of age within the educational and social welfare of American life. It is now becoming recognized as a powerful and influential form of education, along with other academic, recreational, social, and religious agencies. You have seen the qualities that comprise an organized camp. It includes people, outdoor life, living in groups, sets up a community and its leadership and conditions, and they're designed to satisfy personal needs and interests. It is a selected environment where the personal contact with persons is 24 hours a day, greater than what many parents have with their own children today. The leadership is carefully chosen to meet these program needs, and the life of people are found in friendly, clean, and wholesome environment in the natural setting of the great out of doors.